Coach's mic testing 1 2 3. Coach's mic testing 1 2 3.
Careful. What's that all about?
It's all for you there.
Yeah, I doubt it. If it is,
Popular.
you'll be disappointed.
When aren't we?
Yeah, that was disrespectful.
Shots fired. Serena.
Coaches at Valley Sports. Coach, I thought actually Fedor brought up a great term this morning and shoot around. He said emotional hangover. Is there any emotional hangover you've got to caution against after in a 71-point performance?
I mean, it's a real thing for sure. And again, you hope that all the time and work that we've put in, building our identity and who we are, that you turn the page quickly because you know every day is a new test. But it is a real thing. But again, we're hopeful we'll be all right.
We were just looking at some league averages today, and in the league, I mean, it's scoring's up the highest it's been since the 69-70 season. With you guys just being the number one defense, like, is there any extra merit to that when obviously it's, all relative, all teams are scoring more, but the fact that you're the number one defense when scoring is up so high?
I mean, again, it's a credit to our guys and their commitment to that end of the floor. It's not something that we think about or talk about. It's something, we prioritize the job that's in front of us. And that's where we put our focus. All the other stuff really doesn't matter to us. We're just trying to figure out a way to win games.
Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com. Hey, JP.
I'm not answering your questions, Chris. Disrespect me.
Darius tonight?
What is he listed as? Yeah. Doubtful? Okay. He's doubtful.
Oh, great. And Evan tonight?
Evan's going to play tonight.
Great. And then
How about that?
Thank you. I appreciate that. So the other night at the end of the game, you put Jarrett on DeMar for one of the most important plays in the game. What is it about Jarrett that makes you believe that even in that kind of matchup that may not seem as suitable for him, like that's the guy that you're going with on defense?
I think we have quite a few guys who can do different things defensively. I thought that in the moment the size would be more effective against DeMar. He's one of those guys where if it's what, it's at his advantage. So putting Jarrett on him, just thought that he'd have to change his shot a little bit. And, Jarrett has the feet and the ability to stay in front. He's got the discipline to stay down and defend without fouling. So just in the moment, it seemed like the right call.
What does it say about Jarrett from the defensive end and the kind of impact that he has for you guys that's a matchup that you're willing to go to late?
Again, there's not a lot that he's shown he can't do on the defensive end of the floor. We've switched him on to point guards. That night you saw him maneuvering through screens and pick and rolls and still staying with his matchup. It's, again, it may be boring. It may be sleepy. But he's a guy that you have to talk about in an elite level on the defensive end of the floor who could impact the game in so many different ways. We all know what he does at protecting the rim and protecting the paint. But, you look at what he does in isolation defenses, the different people he can guard. There's not a lot of guys at his size that can do the things that he's capable of, and it should be highlighted.
GB, I'm not trying to get you in trouble here. You can do it on your own. The 2-minute report, is it constructive for you at all?
No.
Do you look at it every day?
No. Oh, no. Hell no. No.
Would you like to see a 20-minute report?
I mean, if there is I think that's something that we get caught up on, is the 2 minutes. But there's so many plays that are made throughout the entire game that at the end of the game still can have an impact. So for me, I know the 2-minute report is part of transparency in the league's, movement to do that. But it weighs absolutely nothing in my mind because there's nothing you can do about it. You can't go back and change it. You can't fix it. And, we've been on both sides of it. And I think it's the nature of the beast.
Playing off what Serena asked you earlier, 45 and 50-point games almost on a nightly basis now. What do you account for that? What's the main reason in your mind? Explosive players?
Yeah,
Different, all that?
There are tempo things and pace things that you can talk about. There's spacing things, defensive rule changes, those types of things that I think have started to show their effect. But the league is in a wonderful place as far as talent. And, you know what I mean? Like, it literally seems like every night you're seeing somebody do something spectacular. And that's the talent level of this, generation of player. And one of the things, like we talk about it as a coaching staff, and we talked about it a little bit in here, but at a younger age, guys are specializing, but also specializing with individual coaches and individual development coaches at a young age. Like, there's a business and a market for 8-year-olds and 7-year-olds. And I think what you're seeing is the skill level of guys is increasing. And then again, you get the top of that group, and that's what you're seeing take place here.
Kelsey versus the Athletic. As Darius has been out, how have you seen Karis and Donovan kind of play off one another in their minutes, and especially without Darius as kind of in that mix? Yeah,
I think it's, finding that pairing, finding the balance of how you utilize both of their skill sets. And, they're both, dynamic in their own way. Finding matchups, you can put different guys in pick and rolls, or, have a guy set a pick and roll for one another, play more small actions. But again, it's, and I don't want to take it for granted, but it's common because these guys have always continued to try to make things work. And that's their sole focus, is how they help one another. So it makes it easy on us as coaches.
When Donovan plays without Darius and he plays more at point guard, does he have to shift his mindset or anything at all? Or with the conversations you guys have, does the role change at all? I guess when he is at point guard.
I don't think the role changes. I think the usage changes. His responsibility is to always be aggressive, but his responsibility is also to make the right play. So if they're going to put 2 on you, it's your job to get off the ball. If you've got a teammate that's open, it's your job to pass him the ball. So I don't think it changes his role. What I do think is you watch him, he has a high level understanding of his teammates' needs. So if, so-and-so hasn't had a touch, or so-and-so has a matchup, he knows how to orchestrate the game to get that guy an opportunity. And I think you see him doing more of that when the ball's in his hands as much as it is without Darius.
Coach, when you look at Donovan, obviously he played out west for his whole career until he got here. So obviously playing Phoenix, he's played against Phoenix a number of times. So how much do you dig into that film of seeing how he played against them and preparing for the game?
Well, I mean, it's conversations, obviously, that you have with him. You watch and study how they guard other people this year, because obviously, times are different and their personnel right now can be a little bit different. But you look at their trends, but you do have conversations to try to see, did they send you left? Did they trap you? Those types of things so that you can prepare yourself.
Follow up, Mikhail obviously would be the guy to be a primary defender. What do you see with him in terms of
the length and the motor. He's nonstop movement on both ends of the floor. But he just competes at a high level. He's got really good hands. He's got good feet. He knows how to stay between the ball and the basket. He's not lunging and putting himself out of position. And he makes you finish over the top of him. So it'd be a great challenge. And again, you got a ton of respect for him.
Certainly health is always an issue, and you have to change lineups and so forth, and getting people healthy. With Kevin Love, what are the differences with him starting and then coming off the bench?
Again, I think it's similar. Just he gets more opportunities. When he's out there for a longer period of time, you see, he's one of those guys where the longer he's on the floor, more positive things just continue to happen. He's not a guy that you have to force the issue for, but he can make you pay, in his opportunities. And I think he just gets more opportunities when he's in that starting lineup. His ability to space the floor, his ability to pass. And then, he's got an uncanny knack for just coming up with the ball. He can find the ball in traffic, versus guys who may be taller, longer, more athletic. But he just has an ability and a way to use his wits to find himself with the ball in traffic.
Joe Barton, yeah. Do you think we'll see 82 or 101?
Not in this building, or by an opponent, I should say. You don't know. I would. It's hard to believe that you could possibly see 100. At this point. But 71 is a hell of a number. And guys are pushing that. So anything is possible. And again, the teams with play more pace. You never know about overtime games and that type of stuff. I could see the 82. I mean, if we see 100, then I'd be amazed, obviously.
And then leading the league in defense as you are, but I think you're giving up like 105 points a game. So how do you leave the floor each night feeling like you played well defensively? How do you measure that?
It's whether or not we dictated what we're willing to live with on the defensive end of the floor. We've got certain areas that we're trying to win, and can we win those areas? We talk about the shot profile that we're willing to live with. Again, you can't control how many threes teams shoot. They don't care anymore, right? So what do those threes look like? What's the contest rate of those threes? How are you protecting your paint? Were you physical enough? Did you foul too much? There's all those things. Did you finish possessions? Those are things that we watch, over and over again, and that tells us whether or not we did the job.
Jason, Tom and Joe asked mine, so I will yield my time.
To the gentleman.
The gentleman from the back. Actually, you know what? I will follow up on Joe. So you don't look at numbers at all, like field goal percentage.
Yeah, I mean, we study all that stuff. We've got guys on staff who that's their sole responsibility is to look at all the numbers and pull all the trends and all those things. And that's, we have game goals every single night that, again, some of those areas that we talk about that we're trying to reach. So defensive field goal percentage, defensive 3-point field goal percentage, contest rate, points in the paint, like all those things are things that we do study to make sure we're reaching our goals.
Your eye test is more important than the numbers.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's, again, you try to educate yourself as much as you possibly can, and you use the numbers to kind of check your gut. But like, you can't do the job in a game. And I think that's where the analytics kind of get jumbled. Like, analytics look at 30,000 shots, right? We've got, Donovan took 34 shots the other night. Like, you're looking at 34 shots, on a heavy night. Some of those guys are 10 shots. So, and in that range, the analytics are kind of out the window at that point, right? They don't mean as much if you don't have the total number. So in moments in game, we can't afford to just play the analytics game because guys go on runs. And that's why, it balances out to whatever their average is because sometimes they're here, sometimes they're there. So in the moment, we study and focus more on, basketball eye and gut and instinct.
Let's go, Brad.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.